Well, now you're going to have to do your work. We're going to have an advocacy challenge, and what we're going to be doing is breaking into 4 different teams. I think 2 will stay in this room, and 2 will go to a couple other rooms, and I'll go through the logistics after we lay out the problem. But the idea is that we work in teams to devise a campaign plan. And so let me kind of lay out the challenge here, and we can talk through any questions that you might have. And then we'll break, and I think you can gather lunch or have lunch and then meet amongst your teams, work on the problem for a while, and then we'll reconvene in here, and each team will report on their plan. So the idea is to talk about how do we change principles to policy in general. And going back to the principles we talked about earlier, what each team will be challenged to do is take 1, 2, 3, whatever you want, but just take one and devise a campaign how in your country or countries you might educate policymakers, the media, and advocates about the importance of that principle. So let's just take for an example, one that we've talked quite a bit about is transparent prescribing, that physicians be notified if a switch is made of the biologic that they prescribed. If you think that's a policy that you would like to see adopted in your country, what type of campaign would your organization have to educate policymakers about that policy priority and to have that made into law or regulation? So your challenge is to devise an advocacy campaign utilizing the things we've talked about yesterday and today, that the keys to effective advocacy that we've laid out yesterday during the presentation. You want to incorporate those into your plan in the way that you think it's best suited. Who are the messengers? You know, the advocates and others whose message be carrying the message. What is the message? You know what you're asking for, but what's the message? What's the reason why? So you want to have that in your plan. What's going to be your effective communication approach? How is it that you're going to deliver that message? Who are you going to find as your champions? Who are those policymakers who you can go to make your issue their issue? And we have to identify champions, and should those champions be, members of the health committee or on the health commission? How do we find those? What approach will you take to build relationships with the policymakers? Because we've talked about the importance of getting to know them so they look at you as a trusted source of information. Can the media be brought in this? How will you educate and inform the media and leverage them as part of your plan? And then developing the alliance and coalitions. So within your country, who are all the other groups, not only patient groups, but healthcare providers and others who you want to be part of this plan that's going out and making this ask of the policymakers. So that'll be part of it. And then what tools out of the toolbox we went through can you use in advancing your campaign? Training sessions for your advocates, white papers or policy briefs about the issue. Do you develop a video? What are the meetings and the opportunities to testify and comment that you want to have in your plan? The use of engaging the media through opinion editorials and press releases, and the use of social media. These are all types of tactics, but also think of others too. I loved what we heard about IBD Day, and I think there's a great opportunity there to feature the policy issues you care about as part of IBD Day. We saw the meeting with the health minister in Greece, I believe it was. What a great opportunity to make sure the health minister knows a little bit about biologics and biosimilars and the policy issues you care about. Wonderful idea out of Poland about the toilet paper fight that's going on there. The media comes to cover it because it's a really interesting thing to see. But what would you want the media to know about policy issues? It's one thing to get their attention because you're throwing the toilet paper, but when you have their attention, what is it you want to teach them at that moment? So think of creative ideas to put into your plan of how you highlight your issues. That's, I think, really critical to this exercise as well. So we want to be creative. We want to have new ideas. We don't have to just limit ourselves to the ones that we've talked about today. But most importantly, what works for you in your situation, your organization's capabilities, your experience, what your national situation is. I mean, we're working in groups, so we're going to have some differences even within our groups in terms of that experience and context in which we're working, but put together something general that will make sense. And then finally, have fun doing this. This should be kind of a group exercise. There's no right answer to it. It's more just to help us all think through about how in our organizations we can position them to be more effective policy advocates on the issues impacting biologics and biosimilars going forward. So what we'll hope then is that each of your group will appoint somebody to give a report back. It doesn't have to be lengthy, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at most, of here are the ideas we came up, the approach that we'll take to advancing this particular issue in our group. Question here? So we are NGOs and nonprofits. So that's what it comes down to. Is usually we don't have much in the way of budget. What we have is manpower. We have volunteer hours. We have deeply committed advocates who are willing to give of their self and their time. If somebody's got a checkbook too, that's even better. But yes. Yes. Yeah. But keep it low budget. Yes. Any other questions or suggestions about how to approach this? So we're going to divide the 4 teams. And Chase, where are the other 2 meeting rooms? Are you? Downstairs. Okay, so. So you'll go down the stairs, and there are the rooms underneath here, in essence, that where 2 groups will be. So we're going to have teams 1, 2, 3, and 4. Don't have anything more creative than that in terms of how to specify them. And I guess the way to start here is that we want these roughly equally divided. Louisa stepped out of the room, so I didn't know if she had a way that she suggested dividing them. But give us just a second here.